Disclaimer, we'd like to note before the start of this interview that the opinions about to be expressed by the guest on tonight's Gettin Salty Experience podcast are that of the guest and do not directly or necessarily reflect the views of the host of the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Put the fucking fire out!
You're listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Hello!
I can't do it anymore.
Better get those numbers up there, Kobe. Those are rookie numbers.
Those are rookie numbers.
Welcome back to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast. This is the one that brings to you the kitchen table, the firehouse kitchen table. You know the one, rough, right? The one that holds the weight of 1,000 stories. 1,001 maybe.
It's 89-year-old Chiefs to come out and tell their story. That's what
I gotta really wind that Wayback Machine up really tight tonight, bro. I gotta get the crank going because we're going way back.
Hasn't seen any fire either.
Late 50s. Nah, this pretty shabby. I gotta tell you, this guy's.
We got to start working on our guests.
Yeah, only gotta maybe saw a fire or two. This guy got a couple of stories to tell too.
Yeah.
And a nice guy, very calm.
Very calm, cool collective back there.
Louis was losing his shit a little bit. Where is the chief? Is that on? Take it on. Is he on? Did you talk to him today, Gons? Is he on?
Yeah.
The chief's like, slow your roll.
That's how it was.
Slow your roll.
Cool.
You doing a fire too?
I did text him. Take it. Don't worry about it. Take your time. Just hurry up.
Right. That's not what you do with a fire, is it?
That was not how it was. Take it easy. Don't start throwing out.
Hey, you know who's in the chat?
Oh, who do we have in the
Will
chat?
Wolfgang is in the chat. You know what I say to him?
WW?
You know what I say to him? He's a big Phillies fan. Suck it, baby! Phillies are out, baby. See ya!
On a lighter note, I need another shield, so I got to hit that guy up. You hit him up? Good cop, bad cop.
Phillies fan, baby. My Metsies ousted him yesterday.
What a game.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, all right, Phillies fans?
Oh,
I think those guys could do it.
Yeah.
I think they could do it.
We'll see. Don't give me a Maloika. Don't Maloika.
Padres are, who would you rather play?
You can do it!
You can do it, man! Come on, man, you can do it!
What would I rather have? I'd rather play the
Dodgers?
Yeah, I'd rather play the Dodgers, I think. I'm not really afraid of that pitching staff, but here we go. Oh, City News support. He's a California guy. He probably likes either the Padres or the Dodgers. I bet. I don't know.
I'm going
to win, right?
Oh, look at Proficini's got to throw in. Rangers look good for this home opener.
Oh, I like
ready? We got to start it already.
I think what Tom's saying. Let's not get into to hockey just yet. We got to finish baseball.
All right, but you know what? Play the song just once for Proficini bringing it up.
Oh, okay. Let me get to it because it's on the back end.
Nobody cares about hockey. That includes everyone.
That's
there
it.
You go.
So there you go. That's it. Let me. I gotta
see, thank you, Kevin Malone. Nobody cares about hockey. All right, let's get to our commercial. Our only commercial of the evening.
Yes.
And then we'll get the chief in here. I don't want to keep him in the back too long.
Yeah, he's looking. He's patiently awaiting. All right.
He had a cohort in there that said something about a can flying down the hallway.
We relived a pretty funny moment there. He brought
lobbed that out of nowhere. Guy off the side.
Right before we went live.
Yeah.
Drop that little nugget. All right, here we go. Let's listen to Mr. Vince.
Need a new floor for your fire station? Choose an Armor Tough interlocking flooring system to cover your aging, stained, cracked concrete or epoxy floor. Armor Tough has been around for nearly 20 years and has proven to be the best choice in renovating your station's floors, covering nearly 600 floors across the country. Proudly made in America, Armor Tough comes with a lifetime warranty and are usually installed in 1 or 2 days, depending on the size of your station, with virtually no disruption in your station's operation. Our system is guaranteed from chipping, cracking, peeling, breaking, or staining. The tiles are stain resistant and impervious to chemicals or volatiles that are used in the fire service. Damage one tile, lift and replace without anyone knowing. And once installed, your floor would be easy to clean with just soap and water. Is your current floor slippery? Eliminate the slip with Armor Tough.
You asked me what the friction coefficient is, Professor Goobler? Well, here it is. Fiddle-fat. Poppycock and fiddle-fat.
I had to leave the poppycock.
You got to cut that shit out.
Fucking fiddle-fat. Excellent. Actually, something caught my eye. I forgot what it is right. See, I'm getting old, bro. It slips right through my noggin. I can't remember what it was.
It was a free.
It was to give Mike a little heads up.
Oh, Mike a little
shout out tonight. Give Mike some love. He passed his CPAT. What is it? Not a CPAP. CPAT. Gons, is that what it is?
CPAT. CP8T.
Passed it. So soon enough, Mike's going to be on the job.
You're going to be in the jail bizzle,
right? But we dragged him with us. We did it for him, right, Roof?
He's going to be
in a perfect position.
Now we're going to be worried every day. You better.
Now I got to worry about the kid every day.
Are you serious about that?
How long before he's on a dating page? Like, hey, my name is Mike, and I am a firefighter.
I just found him. He's right on. He's already on it. I just see it right here.
You see it? All right.
He already went to it.
All right, let's get the chief in here.
All right, Chief, you ready? I can see it. I know he hears us. Ooh, he's getting
very anxious.
He's getting comfortable. Oh yeah.
He's
coming to the stage. 89-year-old FDNY Battalion Chief John McElroy.
Welcome.
Imagine how stupid we are. We couldn't get his name right. McElroy. What are we calling him?
I don't know what the hell you were calling him.
No,
McElroy.
McElroy. Like McElroy.
McElroy.
Yeah. I butchered the name. I'm sorry.
Welcome, Chief.
Welcome to yourselves. Thanks so much for getting me on here. I got plenty of folks to talk about, and should be good. Lots of
fun. Let's get patriotic first, Gons.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
A duty, a civil duty.
All right, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, what's with the hat tonight? You didn't have no dippity-doo?
No. That's
I just had a hurricane come through, for God's sake.
Took all my gel with it.
Thank God he's all right.
We got to crank back the Wayback Machine, Chief. So we're going back way. I got to crank this bad boy up way back to 1959.
Okay, today is the 65th anniversary of my appointment date, which is today's date.
Oh my God!
Holy mackerel!
Yeah,
look
we
at
got
that.
65 years there. My first assignment was Engine 65. So if you're looking for numbers, there you go.
Wow,
That's a good one.
Pretty cool.
Well, let's go before that. Where'd you grow up, Chief? Tell us a little about the earlier life before you got on the job.
Okay, I grew up in Staten Island. Went to all the Catholic schools, of course. My father was on the job, and he never talked about it at home. But as kids, my brother and I used to go to his firehouse, which was Engine 156 on Broadway. And if they were out on a run, they used to be out on brush fires all the time. We'd slide the pole and go in the backyard and play handball, and then disappear. So,
how far was the firehouse from your house? Walking distance, I guess.
About 2 miles, I guess.
All right, on the bikes.
Yeah, bikes for sure. That's true. Forgot about the bikes. Yeah.
Before, I guess this is before the Verrazano too, right?
Oh yeah, I think the Verrazano was 67. So before that time, you took the bus, the boat, and then the train to where you were assigned, whether I was in Midtown or Brooklyn. And when I was in rescue too, we had Joe Keller was there. He lived about 6 miles from the ferry, and he would run there every day. So
get his training in, bro. Right?
Yeah.
So I guess we know why you wanted to become a fireman. Your dad was a fireman.
Well, actually, I was in the telephone company in Jersey, and I got married. So when I did, I had to get a job. So I got in a telephone company. And then about 5 years later, I decided to come on the fire department. My father never pushed my brother or I for it, oddly enough, even though we knew a lot of guys he worked with for sure. But I don't know where I actually got the motivation from. Maybe, I don't know. But I was so happy I did. And like most of us, that one lucky Saturday when we took the test, that did it, pal.
Changes your life, right? Is that incredible?
Right.
You got on a 59. What year did you take the test? Like 58, 57?
I would say the earliest would have been late 58 because it was very quick. Right. And I was in the first batch, and who I come on with was Bill Feehan and Tom Noble.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were all on the top of the list. So lucky for me too, since I'm not a big guy or anything like that. That one particular test was the physical was only qualifying, so it went by your written mark, which most of us could write a good. Today you'd probably write 100, but I didn't write 100. But
right,
yeah. So,
I wanted to say before, Chief, that we've had a lot of other guys that came on that had their dads were in this, on the job, and a lot of them say the same thing that you said, that they never really were pressured, or their fathers never talked about the job really that much. That was like a strange thing to me. I didn't think that would be the case most of the time,
Looking back, I would say, particularly today, we have so many pops and kids on the job, and every firehouse. So somehow they brought it up. I'm trying to think back then. I don't think we had like company picnics or Christmas parties or anything like that.
How long did your father do on the job?
My father was on the job 36 years. That's
wow.
Look at that.
He wound up as a deputy chief in the 10th Division, and he was a fireman and a battalion chief on Staten Island, a company officer, and he loved Brooklyn when he went there. And one time he got in trouble. I don't remember what, because he never would talk about it. And headquarters transferred him back to Staten Island. And then somehow or other, in those days, whether it was with the Holy Name or whoever, the union, he was one of the organizers of the UFOA. He got a conference with the mayor, no less, and they transferred him back to the 10th Division. That was, I don't know how the hell he ever pulled it off.
You gotta know a few people.
He called the fixer. He called the fixer. You know what I mean? What year did your dad get on, Chief?
1933.
Wow.
That was right after the Depression, and at that time he had worked for the Con Edison. Then he come on the job, and he was very smart himself too. At one time, as a fireman, they had a contest, and him and 5 other guys won going through the fire department. They won a scholarship to CCNY because the fire department at that time wanted their own engineers. And then while he was going to CCNY, a lieutenant's test come up, and he said, I have to take the lieutenant's test to make more money rather than going to CCNY. So he dropped out of that and
became a deputy.
Deputy.
I want to be a deputy, I guess.
Did your brother get on the job?
Not at all. No. He was also. It's almost nepotism there too. And we were in the New Jersey belt, and our cousin was there, and my brother, and then my brother transferred the telephone company down to Florida. So, but no pressure at all at home with that. No. Oddly enough,
when you were working for the phone company, did you have to do one of these?
No, it was
Bensonhurst 7777.
Actually, when I went to work there in 1955, we had the manual phones with the party lines too. And
the party line.
Remember the party line? In fact, on Staten Island growing up, I still remember the telephone number, and I think we used to get 3 rings when it was ours. And then I'd find my sister. We only had the one phone in the house. She'd be sitting on the stairs, and she'd pick up the receiver and listen into whoever.
Yeah, you could listen in, right? Yeah. That was like in It's a Wonderful Life when the mother was listening in on the extension, right?
Very good. Yeah, very good.
Number, please.
That was like me and you listening to everybody's conversation, sitting in your room. We had that. What was that? That radio that could hear people's phones, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're very
Good
good.
old time. So, where did you have to go to Proby school? Then was it Ward's Island?
Then no, we got assigned, and we were assigned to divisions, and I was in the fourth platoon, I guess it was, and we were the last ones to go to Proby school, which lasted for 6 weeks. First 2 weeks, you went to the shops and got first aid and lectures and stuff like that. Then the next 2 weeks, you went to 68th Street for the ladder school.
16 truck. Yeah.
Right.
16.
Yeah. Right. And then the last 2 weeks actually was Welfare Island. Yeah. And we'd have to, I'd have to take the bus, the boat, the train, and then get a train
Oh my
to
God.
take us from Queens onto the Rock. And then you better not be late. And the beauty of that too was you went to school 5 days a week, but you still had a base company that you were assigned to before you went to school. So Saturday nights, you spent the night in that firehouse as well. So you were in the fire department 7 days a week for.
Were you in Staten Island then? At least they put you.
Always from Staten Island, yes.
Right. So they put you in a firehouse in Staten Island, though, a home firehouse.
Oh no, it was in Brooklyn. In fact, my base company was 105 truck.
Oh,
And,
wow.
Yeah, which was good then. And they were in the old house on Pacific Street.
By themselves, right? Was it?
By themselves, yeah.
Right.
George Kelly was the captain. John O'Rourke was there. Jim Duffy. They had guys that you looked up to immediately, you know. And of course, we had no gear, so whenever you went in, you had to grab whatever they had, and probably was soaking wet to begin with, because they were busy for sure.
Oh yeah.
And so you gather up whatever you could.
Did they allow you to go in the buildings, or they really kept you outside? As really, you know,
Kind of outside. They had a brand new 58 Mac, and that was like the real first ladder company truck I ever was on. But I'm trying to think. I guess we went in the building later, not right away. And actually, there were 3 of us assigned, so that was a lot of people to put on a 58 Mac, the engine in the middle. But every run we came back, we had to wash the wheels, and they told me that was their tradition here from the old days with the horses and all the horse crap. They had to wash the wheels to get rid of it, and that's what they did. And
kept it going.
Oh yeah, kept it going for sure. But good experiences and guys to look up to, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And while you were waiting to go to Proby school, every week you would be assigned to a different company, away from your home company. Like one might be a week on Marine 7, foot of Fulton Street, I guess. 201 engine, 114 truck, each for a week in each to gain knowledge. And at the same time, of course, you had no gear, so you'd always be borrowing everything anyway. So when you wound up in a truck company, that stuff was kind of big for sure. But
Chief, do you remember even like back then? Do you remember like saying to yourself, "I wanted to go to a busy place," or like since your dad was on Staten Island, like I'm sure it was slower there than it was in other areas. What was your feeling then? Do you remember?
Well, my feeling there was, since 105 truck was my home company, my father was actually in the division then at that time. And I said to him, because he really wasn't much for doing favors. I said, after I get out of Proby school, what do you think? Can I get assigned to 105 truck? And he said, no, you can't. He said, that's one of my favorite companies. You can't go there. I'm not serious. And I wound up in Midtown.
Thanks, Dad.
Like, thanks a lot, pal.
Holy mackerel. Friends like that.
You didn't ask twice.
Yeah.
but anyway.
You get assigned to engine 65. That was your first assignment in January of 1960. Then by Times Square, right? Oh.
That's right. 43rd Street. We were first due at Times Square. Mm-hmm. And on New Year's Eve, you had to be in full uniform and get down and stand. Me and other guys from every company had a detail guy to guard the alarm box in full uniform. So you went in Times Square from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Then you
What
went
was
back.
that like back then? Was it crazy?
Not as much as no. Actually, you could walk around all over the place. Tell you the truth. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But the best story is when I went to 65, the battalion was still there, Battalion 8, because they were still building 8-engine and 2 truck on 51st Street. And then after a couple of months, the house was done. They moved out, and Rescue 1 moved up. So they come in, and John Maloney was the captain of 65, and Joe Rooney was the captain of Rescue 1. And he got Rooney, he said, Joe, he said, you're never first due. We are. We'll be in front all the time. And every time, and they outran us, by the way, because they was covering all the boxes downtown still and up to Harlem. But anyway, he said, every time you got to run, my chauffeur will move our rig out. And when you come back, we'll move it again. And we always were in front. And that was it. And Rooney said, okay.
Listen, Rooney.
So that might have been the original House of Pain there, Coops.
Oh, yeah. Butts to nuts, man.
Butts to nuts, right?
They were the guys that had their senior guys, they were just every one you could look up to. It's like, whoa, look at these guys, the fires they go to and stories. They'd come back and I'd make coffee for them and toast. You never had much to eat because the commissary supplied almost nothing then. I think the only thing we had was evaporated milk for the coffees. And that was it.
Incredible.
With the little container to put on top of it and all. But it worked out good. The rescue got along good with us and stuff like that. And like I said, some of the guys there, you just looked up to all of them for crying out loud. Right. One guy there, Philly Pryor, was a fireman there too. And another guy, I think it was John, an Irish name. Anyway, they had a fire in a Woolworths. And he's in there and he's searching around. And one of the other guys told me the story. And his flashlight went out. All they had then were the regular D-cell batteries. And he reached up and he got some batteries out of one of the shelves on Woolworth and put $1 up for them. And then left. These guys were incredible. And at night, everybody going to bed, they'd have their boots up there with them as we did. And then they'd be kneeling next to the bed saying their prayers.
Really?
Yeah, every one of them. Yeah, every one. Yeah.
Wow, never heard that before.
And the engine did it the same,
Wow.
I guess most of them were Irish or Italian Catholics.
Catholics,
so
yeah. You have a lot of World War II vets at that time?
Yes, yes, lots of them. And you know who was there with me too was Jimmy Elson, which you probably all know.
Wow, yeah.
Wow.
And he grew up he was a buff in 3-engine, and that's where John Maloney, the captain of 65, was a lieutenant there, and they sort of adopted him. So when Jimmy got out of probie school, he came to 65. And then later on, a year or two, we were there. He was a couple months behind me. We put in our transfers to go to a ladder company. And on the CD-30 in those years, there was a line for your height. So I'd make out a thing, 108 truck, 102, 111, whatever, because Brooklyn, I figured that's where I should go. But anyway, every month it would come back with a red circle around my height, disapproved. And then Jimmy put his in for Brooklyn too, and his would just come back disapproved. So it took us 3 years to get out of there. So he went to 102 and I went to Rescue 2. And I always say I spent my 3 years under the bright lights of Broadway and then the next 35 in the ghetto.
Yeah. Do you remember your first job that you caught in 65, Chief?
Yes, I remember we had some, what they had a lot there, relatively a lot, were buildings under construction, high rises. Mm-hmm. And I remember them in the winter a couple of times, like third alarms in these things, and the wind would be blowing all the 2x4s around, stuff like that. And we didn't have that many fires. And they used to always kid that every big fire they had in Midtown had a name for it, like the Wanamaker Fire or the Times Tower Fire or something like that. And we'd just be kidding around and all. But I do remember getting a nozzle for the first time, and that was something else. And I did put it out. It was probably an office, something like that. But
right,
that was quite the thrill for sure. But you didn't get the nozzle too much, but and the guys were good. A lot of senior guys. I remember one guy, Patty O'Connell. He said, "Jack, you're here. Don't listen to these other guys. Start studying." And I remember later on, and it worked, of course. He said, "You have plenty of time on your hands. You're on watch and stuff like that. So start studying." And if you remember, well, you might not. We used to, when the boxes come in, you'd have to write it on the chalkboard. And when I first started in '65, Lieutenant gave me a piece of chalk and said, "Here's your chalk. And wherever you walked around, when the bells come in, whether they're ours or anybody's, you had to write them down on the wall so you wouldn't forget them." So, and then when you're doing the coal furnace in the basement and you get the 3 rings, you run like hell because that was a phone alarm. So, and it's like, we didn't get that many phone alarms, but
Yeah.
but just things they did, just traditions, stuff like that. Yeah.
You know what I wanted to ask you, Chief? So now you're on the job. Is your father talking to you now
question, Ruffy.
about going to fires? Is he talking about like where you should go after this like couple of years? Do you feel like
Zero.
Nothing?
Nothing. No, not at all.
Zero.
When I went to rescue too, he said, later on, he said, "What'd you do that for?" I said, "Well, I wanted to go to a ladder company and I couldn't, but I was able to get an interview with Captain Lawler, and he had been an engineman himself, part of his career, and all he was looking for, that's him there with the cape. He looked for attitude. I was like an electrician. I could do telephone. I could do welding, some construction thing, carpentry, stuff like that. But his main thing was attitude. And I went over and got an interview with him. He said, "Okay, Jack." Of course, he knew my father, but he never brought that up either. But
Right.
He said, "Okay, you're going to be number 5 on the list. And when 5 guys get transferred out or promoted, you'll be on the order." And sure enough, the 5th guy was Pete Eason. His name was on the order, and mine was too. He got lieutenant, and I got to rescue too. It was remarkable how they did things in those days without the computers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything was.
With 2 years on the job.
I was just going to say, like, what was that like walking into that place after 65? I'm not taking anything away from 65, but I mean, now you go from Midtown, you're going into Rescue 2. They had to be in 1962, 63. They were probably just picking up work, a lot of work, right? I mean,
They were starting to pick up work, yes. And and we had, I bet we had 200 alarm boxes assigned on, which Rescue 1 didn't. But we had every box, there were 400s in downtown Brooklyn. So as soon as you heard a 4 come in, you got up or wherever you were and get ready to go out. And they had boxes for like the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, things like that. But getting back to what you said, I'm there now, I'm looking at these guys, and I had no truck experience except a couple of details to 2 truck, things like that. But, and I was busy listening and watching and do my best, make an effort with committee work, I guess, stuff like that.
You were on Carlton Avenue then?
With Carlton Avenue, the thing there which surprised the hell out of me, but their kitchen table was behind the back step of 210 engine.
Yeah.
Originally in the house, it probably was on the 3rd floor, which we also had like a sitting room up there with a barber's chair and stuff like that. And one of the guys, Ronnie Foote in the rescue, he cast a statue up there of an Indian. He made it in clay and then he cast it. And talk about talents. But to get back to the kitchen table was behind the rear step. On one side was the hose tower. The other side was a bathroom, at least luckily. And then the small storage room in the back behind, say like going out the back door of the firehouse. That was the kitchen with the refrigerator, a gas stove, and supplies. And nobody complained. That's all.
Yeah.
You just did it. And you figure, what the hell? Talk about the environment and the smoke and whatever. So
you were doing it up in 65 with Rescue 1. back to back, and then you went to 210, and you do with 210
Wow,
back to back.
that's true.
Right.
It's the same.
Well, with 210, we were in the front, though. That was for sure. Like you just said before, they were really starting to pick up the running there.
Right.
But I'll say one thing. In Brooklyn, a lot of times at night, it would slow down. When I went to the Lower East Side, we ran all night. Probably rubbish and cars and crap like that. But and in Rescue 2, that was my original animal house. They built the guys, the talent of these guys. They built the saltwater fish tank in the basement. It must have been 4x4 at least. And we used to take 55-gallon drums to Coney Island to fill them with relatively clean salt water and bring it back and dump it in there. And we had a shark and various fish and things like that. And certain guys would take care of it. That was their thing. But the beauty there too was we had a monkey. And the monkey was like, I don't know who the hell ever brought him in there, but typical of a monkey, he'd be throwing his crap all over.
I was going to say, was he flinging shit?
Guy I watched one day, a kid comes up and he said, your monkey is down the street in the projects. He's climbing up the wall there, and I think he just bit a girl. And luckily the guy I watched it, no, that's not our monkey. We're just always trying to catch him to give him to find the owner of this guy. Luckily for me, since I used to do the committee work too, he ripped up a $20 bill that Captain Lawler had out for the house tax. And very next week, the monkey was gone.
It was gone. Yeah, hell yeah.
Hey, monkey.
They had tremendous guys in the rescue there with like 3 of them deputies later and all kind. One guy worked with certain special gas lines and stuff like that. But you'd look up to all these guys. They all had these talents that you say, holy shit, you know. Plus we had probably 3 guys from 108 truck, all the busy 102, stuff like that.
Right.
And luckily for me, when I went there, I worked almost all the time with Dick Hamilton. And he was, Joe Rooney was probably the toughest rescue fire officer I ever saw. And Hamilton knew everything. He was a frogman in World War II. He built houses. He could do anything. And we'd go to like cellar fires. And I remember a couple of them, he wouldn't put his mask on. He had it on. And the rest of us would be dying there, would put their Scots on. And I asked him one time, I said, Lou, you didn't even put your mask on. He said, well, if we got in trouble, then I'd put it on and I'd get you out of there.
He had a plan.
Just the way it was. And he knew all kinds of guys. One time we went over to 108 when they were still on Siegel Street, because he had a couple friends there, just wanted to talk and chat. And I go in the back, and in the kitchen, there's a motorcycle hung up on the wall that they took off one of the civilians that gave him a hard time. And the guy never claimed the motorcycle. That was in with the 35th Battalion before they ever moved. And another tough ladder company. Whoa, these guys were good for sure. Yeah.
So I guess you learned a lot in fire duty over there too, right?
Yes. Yeah. And other thing I was saying before, we used to get in trouble sometimes. I don't know how the rescue got into trouble, but we'd go to multiples out in the 11th Division or 15th Division. And when we're ready to take up, the deputy would say, oh, go help Squad 3 take up their line. And we got that done. He just did it. And he'd say, go help 235 take up their line. We must have taken up 4 or 5 lines before we get out of these places. And then that disappeared. Somebody was on them for some reason. I don't even know who, really, but trying to think there too.
Did you ever do that as a chief? Tell the rescue to pick up line?
No. In fact, I'll tell you that later. When I went back, when I was a chief and went to the Bronx, Rescue 3 was still in Manhattan. But before they even moved over, I used to love to see them because I was building up, because with a rescue company, whatever I'm doing at the fire, in comes the rescue with 5 senior guys and a senior lieutenant or a captain, and would just come up to me and say, what do you want? And they do it. So I'll tell you some of that story a little bit later. But lots of experience there. We had no partner saw, by the way. We had a chainsaw in Rescue 2. We had a sawzall. We had different, no airbags, but we did have plenty of wedges, and we had acetylene, stuff like that.
Right.
And every once in a blue moon, when you'd get a spare, they had no real rescue rig spares. We'd get an old hose wagon, and we'd pile all the stuff in there with a big canvas on it, and we'd sit in the back. And that was it. You know, you did
what you had to do.
That's all. And typically, all of us, you did what you had to do. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And there were some great guys there for sure. And the engine too. The engine, even though they were slower than us, of course, they were just wonderful. You know, good, steady guys. 210 was a good engine. So, but they weren't that busy. Then I guess, well, they got busier later, of course. But I can remember being on watch there in the summer, and you had to write down every box, and the whole box would be full with the engine only, not 210, but you got everybody's signals then, you know, and everybody there again was with the chalks writing it all down, stuff like that. But it was a good house too, and easy to get to. They were right up the street from the Navy Yard.
Yep.
And that was probably the first. We used to go to, like I said, all the 400 boxes, and that was the projects down below too, past east of the Navy Yard. So I started to learn about projects there too. Right. And when we would get in, no matter what floor it was on, the rescue always ran up the stairs. It was incredible. That's just what they did. You know.
Right.
So you joined in on that, yes. So
why did you only spend 2 years there, Chief? It seemed like an ideal spot to be in.
Okay, it was tough to get there, like I told you before, at the height. But while I was there, I took the lieutenant's test, and I did very well on that as well. And then I figured, well, I never was in a ladder company, so I better get to one to get real experience of a ladder company. Right. And they approved that. And luckily, luckiest thing in the world, I put in for 11 truck and probably 18 truck, different ones too. And I got 11, and that was wonderful. That
was doing some big work then. A lot of work back then.
In those days, we were in the top 10 every year, runs and workers. It was the trucks district. We probably did 75% of our work in for whatever reason, for sure. And they were in a relatively new house on 2nd Street. And when they built it, I got the plans that were in the basement one time. And in the front of the house, it had engine 11, ladder 11 up on the wall. And they had done away with 11 engine, which was on Houston Street. They moved it to Harlem and made 2nd section and 91 engine. And then they disbanded them. So 28 was a camp up on 11th Street. And they moved to 2nd Street. It was like, whoa, time for the old timers to leave. So,
I was just gonna say, I sent a lot of guys running, right?
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of guys from 11 truck. I can't think. I know there was a bunch of guys that came through there. That was a busy place.
To me, it was like, wow, this is one. Here I'm a kid from Staten Island. First day of drive up, drove them. We had to take the ferry to get the car across to bring my stuff there. And I'm looking, these old log tenements with the fire escapes were old then. It was a Jewish neighborhood, of course, but this was the, say 64, something like that. I think that's when I went there, something like that.
And 64.
That's when the Jewish people were moving out to Co-op City, going north. And then the Puerto Ricans were coming from Puerto Rico as a wave then, and just families, you know. And they took over the neighborhood that way too. And I used to always regret I never learned Spanish, because whenever we went out, the kids would talk to us and they'd tell us what was going on, whatever we needed to know, things like that. And I said to myself, no sense learning this. The next group, everybody would be speaking English. And of course, I didn't know that at the time. It never changed. You would wonder what they were yelling at us, you know. But
did you, with the work that you did in Rescue 2, you think you were set to work in you were good? You knew enough about truck work to go to a busy truck like that? No,
not at all. No, I have to tell you also, when I was in Rescue 2, Also in my pro week class was Jimmy Johnston. He went to 310 engine, and we had a multiple out. They were first due, and Joe Keller and I had to go search for him, and we found him dead up on an upper floor with an MSA mask also. That's all. And I gave him mouth to mouth, but he didn't come back. And that was the first time personally I had a dead fireman. So that was a tough one for sure there. Then, of course, much later on, they put 174 in there, but this guy was good as gold, but it's part of our history for sure. Yeah. But no, I didn't know. In fact, when I went to 11, Bill Dunn was there too. We had Bill Dunn and another guy, Ray Nybro. They were the tallest firemen I ever saw in my life, these guys. And when we go on drill, I'd say, "This is good." I said, "Let's tell the captain we'll go up on the roof and cut the roof," because we had the vacant buildings, starting a lot of them. And we didn't cut roofs open then. You had 2 inches of tar paper, and you're gonna cut this thing with an axe? I don't think so. So we used to do a lot of pulling ceilings. But I said, show me how you do this stuff, because we didn't do it in the rescue either. We didn't have a saw or anything. A lot of it was pulling ceilings, particularly in row frames and stuff like that. You'd just go from building to building, pulling ceilings and having an engine follow you. But we did some of that there. And I remember, like I said, we had the 58 Mac there. And I never went to chauffeur school because I was on a lieutenant's list by that time, and they wouldn't send me. But I was a Tillerman there in 11 truck, so that was good. And we had one chauffeur, Joe Carver. If I held the wheel straight, he would back the whole rig in on 2nd Street. He'd do all the turns and everything like that. I said, "How the hell do you do this?" But he did it. It's just
skill. Got mad skill, that man.
Yeah. And then once in a while, you get the wooden aerials for a spare. That was always a challenge with the overhang of the ladders in the back. And we had an old chauffeur there, George Heiser. And I'd say, "George, take it easy going around these corners." He said, "I got the front through. That's up to you."
That's up to you back there.
You now, fella.
No sympathy at all, but you learn truck work pretty quick there then, because we did have the fires. There's no doubt about it. And
on average, how many jobs would you go to? I mean, were you working 24s then, or you working straight tours?
I'm trained. We were working straight tours. You could, of course, get mutuals, and in rescue we were straight tours too. It wasn't a big thing to get mutuals for some reason. It came later, thank God. Right. But straight tours, and
that's so true.
I'm trying to think of the runs. It wasn't overwhelming, but we were first due a lot. That was the big thing. Right. And
have you ever been down there?
Yeah,
like Combat City, right? I mean, you just tight blocks with like whatever they were, 4, 5, 6, just big buildings attached the whole way, like everywhere, right? It's incredible.
It was an education too. You go in the old law tenement, and each floor, a lot of them they weren't broken up into 4 on a floor. They were still the railroad flats, and between the doors, say the kitchen door in the rear for each apartment on either side of the hallway, that's where the bathroom was. And one door, and both those families used that.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah. And before that, it was outhouses in the backyards. Huh. So that was a vast improvement. And then other tenements, they'd have the bathroom was in between the kitchens inside the apartment, and each door would have a lock on it. And God knows how many kids and stuff like that there too. But that's what you lived, and it just
heavily occupied then.
Very heavily occupied, yes, I'd say so. The vacants were getting more and more for sure, and they found out, of course, later that the landlords, the people weren't taking care of the apartments and stuff like that, and the landlord would have the fire for insurance,
right?
And sometimes you go into a flat and they'd have a drop cord from the hallway light into the apartment for their electricity to the refrigerator. If you want that, but free electricity, stuff like that.
We've had a few guys from back in that time, Chief, from 18 truck as well. I can't think of names right now, but I didn't realize how busy 18. Well, was that Fort Pitt Cougs, right? If I remember right,
They were on Broom Street then with
Broom
17.
Street. Those guys are really busy too, right?
Oh yes, oh definitely. And the battalion was with them, and they had the two separate doors. The chief had his own door, and when I was on a lieutenant's list, and before I got promoted, I used to fill in driving down there to learn the paperwork and stuff like that. So I got to see, and they were very busy. I won't say his name, but when we used to go, the guys used to go sick. The doctor would come to quarters to check you before you didn't go to the hospital. He came to quarters, and one of the guys ever in 18 truck and 17 lined up waiting to see the doctor, and one of the guys, I won't say his name, he gets up to Dr. Ginsburg, and he had a mouthful of oatmeal, and he threw up on the doctor's coat.
True story.
Was it Cuba?
My father was in 17 engine from 60 to 64.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good engine for sure. Yeah. And again, it was on Broom Street before they moved. Of course, they were second due. We were first and second due back and forth to almost all the boxes we had, really. And
that's crazy.
They were very good. Bill Dietrich was there. Joe Sansone was there as fireman. Any number of guys. It was just a good house also. And the battalion was good. Gus Beekman was a chief there when I was in the 11 truck. And then he quickly became a deputy, so he kept going up too.
How do you remember all the names, Chief?
I'm still pretty good with the names, but not all the time. Now, I'm old enough now.
Not doing too shabby.
When I meet somebody now, if I don't remember the name, I just say, "Sorry, what's your name?"
Yeah.
I know you, but what's your name?
Yeah. No doubt.
I just want to see if I have a note here of anything with 11. But that was an amazing experience in the Lower East Side for sure.
You said Gus Beekman came from over there?
Yeah, he was a chief in the 4th Battalion.
I was wondering why, because when my father was on light duty, he drove Gus Beekman when he became the commissioner.
Hot stuff.
That's probably where they met each other over there.
I would say he met him right there, yes.
Yeah.
And he was
cool.
liked.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah, he was always in busy. I think Beekman started in 58 engine. I'm not really sure.
Yes, up in Holland. Yep.
And well liked.
The
and
lime green,
capable, it's just remarkable. I'm just looking to see. Let's see. Then I'll go into getting into 28. But another thing with 11 and 28, we had a fair amount of rear tenements. And I figured, where the hell do you get a rear tenement in the backyard of an old law tenement? But they told me, at least I'd listened, that the rear tenement was built first with a front yard. And then later they built a new tenement in front of it.
Right.
We had them on Avenue C. We had them on 10th Street above Tompkins Square Park, stuff like that. And experience, because anything you did, you had to carry the portable ladders back there, which, tell you the truth, we never had to do too much of that. So that was fortunate. I mean, didn't need it that often.
Yeah.
The engine would put it out. That's all. You better get busy and put it.
They were usually smaller buildings, right? Than the one in front of them. Yeah.
They were probably 3 or 4 story. Yes.
Yeah, we had them by us, Ruffy.
We had a couple.
We had a couple of them. Yeah.
We used to put them on the SIDS, Chief, so that obviously everybody.
Of course. Yeah, of course. That's right. Yeah. There was so much to learn there, and to listen to these guys with. It's just different, the old timers were there for years, and they watched that whole neighborhood change completely from just nice stuff. Oh, also in the 50s, the whole east side there from Avenue D to the river was commercial. And with the urban renewal, they ripped all those commercials down, commercial building, and built the projects. Talk about getting experience in projects. Whoa, boy. And they had them all up Avenue D and across the other side, Columbia Street and Sheriff and something. In fact, when I was in 65 engine, many afternoons you'd be on watch, and we had one of those little Hallicrafter radios, and you'd hear that, I forget the term they use. I don't think they use the term using all hands, but whatever it was, almost every afternoon that I'd be on watch to hear this stuff, they'd have a fire at box 292, Sheriff and Rivington Street. I said, where the hell is this? And it was vacant, and there were so many of them. They used to have an engine patrol that would drive around, and you'd hear nothing. And then by the time the engine driving around looking for things, they'd go back to quarters. The box would come in. Somebody start the fire after they went by. But just interesting. Just
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, crazy stuff there. But
in those 60s, when did the riots take place? What was the middle 60s?
I'll tell you, I was in Rescue 2 in 64 in the summer, and we're responding to a box in Brownsville, multiple, and we get out to Fulton Street, say 2 in the morning, it doesn't matter when, and all of a sudden it was wall-to-wall people. And I think Dick Hamilton was working. He called dispatcher and he said, we're stuck here. What's going on? And the dispatcher had no idea of all these people all over Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy and stuff like that, in Brownsville, not really causing trouble, but blocking every street. It was incredible. And at that one, the dispatcher said, go back to quarters. He said, I'll have to find out what's going on. And then he called the police department to say, I said, oh, yeah, we're having people gathering all over the place. And I don't know what started it. It's kind of early for the Vietnam War. Don't know. Maybe it's just a social condition. Maybe, don't know. But that was, I would say 64 was my first experience with that.
Yeah.
And when I got to 11 truck, we didn't have that, but we had gangs there that generally, like the Lords was one of them, their names. But they didn't give us trouble there. They'd go to other areas, then they come back to where they lived on Lower East Side.
The Warriors did it, Coobs.
The Warriors come out and play, yay.
Well, in 64, when I went to 11 truck, there were no pharmacies, there were no banks, there were no supermarkets, and not something else either. All were shut down or burned down. It was like, what the hell happened here? So if you wanted anything, you had to go over to like Avenue A or First Avenue for shopping and all. It was just
looked like somebody dropped the nuclear bomb over there. Probably nothing left.
Very interesting for sure. But
what was the firehouse like back then? Like, was there a TV in the kitchen? Did you guys? Was it
very
like
good? Very good. We must have had. We had a kitchen in the back on the right. The house was built in like 1960, just like 111 and 214. So almost identical thing. And we had a sitting room with the kitchen. We had a household gas stove, a household refrigerator, 2 tables and chairs. And that was about it. And it had an oil burner. So that was a break. We didn't have any coal to do.
You had to go shovel the coal.
We had a backyard and a side alley. And on the second floor next to the engine officer, they had a patio on the second floor. And of course, they had a palm tree growing there. But why they ever put something like that there, I don't know. But another thing, too, in the truck, they had a guy, Charlie O'Brien, came from 18 truck. Every Christmas, he painted the outside apparatus doors with Christmas scenes and Feliz Navidad, stuff like that, and joined him with the neighborhood and stuff like that, and they'd give the kids candy at Christmas time. But he was a beautiful artist, this guy. I couldn't believe the stuff he did there. But otherwise, inside, it was just tile walls. And
that's a lost thing, right, Coobs?
What?
Painting of the apparatus door, that was always like a pretty cool thing to each firehouse. Different firehouses had it done different ways, you know. Like
yes, it's just the tradition they did, and I don't know what the rest of the year he had to take it off. He must have repainted it red. That's all.
Yeah, right.
I got to show you a picture, Roof. I got the opposite here. 2 blocks from me, a guy's painted his front garage door to look like Snyder Island. He must have been from 174 truck. It's a Snyder Island. It has their logo, and it looks like a firehouse door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at his house.
That's crazy.
I'll take a picture.
Yeah,
of
you got to take a picture of that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But
Yep.
when I was in 11, then I studied, and I got to be lieutenant, left, went covering and stuff like that. And then the department didn't have a captain's list, so they wanted to make provisional captains. And the best lieutenant in 28, John Gillen, he was a senior guy and probably the best officer there, just attitude and stuff like that. He took it and he went to be a provisional captain of 6 truck. And like I said, in those days, when his name was on the order, the guy replacing him would be on that order. So I was covering in Brooklyn. Yeah, I was covering in Brooklyn. And I called Artie Laufer, who was a deputy in the 1st Division. I don't know whether I don't even know where I knew him from, but he was very influential too. And I asked him, I said, any possibility I could go back to 28? And he said, what do you want to go back there for? I said, well, I like it there. That's just whatever. He said, okay. So when John Gillen got promoted,
Wow.
I was on the same order to 28, and I inherited a senior group of his guys because the senior guys worked with him, and the truck used to call them the professionals. Now I'm the lieutenant of the professionals. But of course, I knew all of them anyway because I worked.
Yeah, right.
But and I inherited the best chauffeur, older chauffeur, Hank Burlick. He knew every address, every hydrant, condition of the hydrant. It was just wonderful there too. And we're talking about, if you want me to keep on talking about 28.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We talked about Rescue 2 being the animal house. Well, 28 and 11, there were 3 different incidents I had there myself. We're stretching and crawling into one apartment, and an iguana crawled out past me. Another time.
It's like Gonzo.
Man, they're all over down here.
I know.
Another time with a similar situation, we were busy then, that was for sure. We had a job or 2 or whatever every day. But in fact, Jay Jonas, when he was covering down there as a lieutenant, he, I think I told you, he was covering in 28 one day, his first day. And he told me later on, he said, that was the busiest day I ever had in my life.
He told us that.
Yeah. But
he told us that.
Yeah, he would. But as we're crawling into this other place, a boa constrictor slid past me. One of those just little, probably only a couple of feet long.
Yeah, only a couple of feet.
But the best one was this. We got a box to go up Avenue D and 9th Street. And we were going up Avenue D. You could see smoke coming out of this tenement. And you could see somebody on the fire escape. And every time my chauffeur, Hank Burlick, saw smoke, it was pedal to the metal. And up we go and stuff like that. And we get up there. There's a nude woman on the 3rd floor with a cat as bigger than a bobcat. And
was a cat.
Whoa. Which cat are we talking about here? Which way are we going here?
Maybe it looked like a cat.
It was like, do you give a 1075 or do you call for the ASPCA? At any rate, we put the fire out. I think it was below her or something like that. The truck went up, got inside, coached her back into the apartment, shut the door, and left the cat out on the fire escape.
Coached her.
And as what the ASPCA did show up and took over the cat. So I figured that'd be Rescue 2 anyway. But there was so many different things there.
Did a lot of time there, Chief, huh? Like you went back, so you did almost 10 years there from fireman, came back as lieutenant.
Yeah. Talk about fun times, huh?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you had to have
the busiest night I had there, just a night tour. We had 35 runs. I was going to Florida the next day. We had 35 runs. We had 3 real all hands, 2 were first due, and then a second alarm, and that was it. It was like, holy shit.
That was it?
That was it for sure.
And then you went home, and your wife said, all right, pack the car. We're driving to Florida.
Driving down to Florida.
We got all the way to Rocky Mount, Florida the next day.
Oh,
Figured,
my
holy shit! But of course, I wasn't 89 then either, for sure. But
You were a
the-
young
what-
buck.
the drugs started being a real problem down there, right?
Yes.
What year was that? Like, was that in?
The heroin got to be upper 70s into the 80s.
Mhm.
And the first one I remember down there, we're overhauling in an apartment, and I found these 2 bags of look like straw and stuff like that. It was marijuana, of course. What the hell did I know at that time? And I gave them to the cops. And the guy said later, the fireman said, "What the hell did you give the cops the marijuana for?" I said, "I don't know what the stuff was." You know? But I don't know. Oh, in the 80s, I was out of there by this time. But Vinnie Romeo was a lieutenant. He was a fireman 111, then came back and he was a lieutenant in 11 truck, and then the captain of 28. And him and the captain of the truck painted a double yellow line across the street from the firehouse to tenements across the street. And that's where the heroin addicts used to line up. And they'd be wandering over there and stuff like that. And when the dealer came to sell it, the dealer would blow a whistle and they'd all line up and buy it. And the police knew it, but they knew where the heroin was, so they figured they had a control.
Right.
And it got so bad, in front of the firehouse, the truck or the engine put an easy chair, and 1 year they had 287 overdoses in that chair.
Holy shit!
And that was before we had the ambulances, so the other ambulances would give the firemen some kind of shot to give these guys, and the fireman would give them a shot and revive them. So,
Wow.
one day there was a relocating truck company there, and they had one of these incidents take place, and they gave the guy treatment and shit like that. And when 11 came back, they said to him, "Yeah, we just had this guy overdose here, and we did this, and the lieutenant's going to put in for a unit citation." The truck said, "Get the hell out of here.
Get the hell out of here."
We'd have
You
said,
bored him yesterday, you fucking Momo.
It's just funny. But the other part, of course, the engine had, what the hell did we call it? We used to switch companies.
Interchange.
The truck didn't have it, but 18 truck had it. A little side story I'm getting on to. They used to interchange 18 interchange with 8 truck. So 8 truck would come over. Invariably, they'd hit cars there with the things, and the people always figured it was 18 truck. And I said, no, that's the 8 was on it, naturally. But anyway, our interchange company was 32 engine, and the first night we went down there, the refrigerator had a lock on it. So chauffeur went out, got the bolt cutters. That was the end of that one. But it was also, if you had 20 runs before midnight, I had to call the deputy and tell him, and we would interchange then. So the trick there was I had all the slips of the runs under my tide pin, and I just didn't put them in the book till 3 in the morning. So we didn't have to go. So that was good. But every other night you did have to go. And that was always a tussle. Who wanted to stay back? And
Right.
Oh my gosh.
and when we were interchanging with them, we used to have to go. The World Trade Center was being built. So on multi-unit drill, since we were an interchange company for 32 engine, we had to get down and do the drill, which was very interesting, of course. And they would put us in the basement, and we'd get down this huge earth ramp, and the brakes squealing the whole time getting down there. One time down there, we found a leak in the settling tank, so that was something. But interesting. You get down there, there were cement trucks down there with just the barrel, and then they'd make the cement, and then as the taller they got, they'd hoist the cement truck up also.
Wow.
Just it's crazy stuff you got to see. Was it just good, very, very interesting for sure. But they also, the Lower East Side, as busy as we were, we never got it. The trucks never got adaptive response either. And when the firemen was, they used to get the one tour of overtime, our guys would have to go to the Bronx for it. We couldn't fill our own companies. We had to go elsewhere. Just an odd paperwork thing, that type of thing. And we also didn't get, at one time, they set up a thing for the busy companies to give them an administrative aid, which we didn't get. So what I did, we had a guy had a lot of trouble at home with his wife and stuff like that. So I called the battalion. I said, Chief, I'm following the orders on that's PAID circle here. So I want to let you know what administrative aid we have. So I gave him the guy's name, and Chief said, okay, that's okay with us. So the guy worked administrative aid until his wife got better. And he'd come in sometimes, but to make a long story short, you just had to deal with the situation. And it worked. You know, the guy
taking care of one of the brothers.
Yeah, that's all taken care of. And in this case, what a perfect solution. But somehow the Lower East Side, well, as busy as we were, of course, we were the busiest in the whole division, with just the way it was. But we'd been on all the BI programs and TIPS programs and stuff like that. And you had to do the paperwork. So,
Chief, how did you? I wanted to ask you this before. How was it coming back as a boss to the company that you just came out of as a fireman? Was it a little weird initially? Was it? Did you take some time to get?
That's a good question. It was a very good question. In fact, one of the guys in the truck, Bob, said, "What?" He said, "Jack, what the hell are you coming back here for?" He said. I said, "Bob, I like it here. I like all you guys." I was straight as an arrow as a fireman and stuff like that. I would do the committee work. I'd do this and stuff like that. And I was accepted better that way. No particular problem. And it was, I guess I was lucky because I took over this senior group of guys that I had worked with as firemen, and it was okay. But actually, everything was Lou. It was never Jack. It was just
They never put you in a position to make you feel like that, right?
Like I say, with most things in the fire department, I always believe that too. Everything works out of mutual respect. It just works, and no matter what. So yes, go ahead.
So had you been studying this whole time for captain while you were there? Or
yes, I did, and I'm trying to think how that took place. I didn't come out on top of that list, whatever. I guess I didn't study enough, but it finally come out.
You're going to 3 jobs at night. How the hell are you going to study?
Yeah.
You didn't. Oh, and on Staten Island, I used to.
Going en route. I'm going to take a quick look at this.
Yeah, 1075. All right, second floor. You carry them all, and
I was a smoker there too. So when I was working, I'd smoke 2 packs a day. Every run you lit a cigarette, right? That's all.
Hell yeah.
And you found the false alarm and you come back. Yeah. But anyway, I did that. Got on the list. Got promoted, and I got assigned to. In fact, when I got promoted to lieutenant was the first time I worked on Staten Island. I became a covering relief lieutenant on Staten Island. In my old neighborhood where I grew up was 2 of the houses or 2 of the companies. But that was the only time I worked on Staten Island. But when I got promoted to captain, I was relief captain in Coney Island, 43rd Battalion, and I had 6 of the companies, and I loved them there. That was a funny place. One house was superb, the next one was real good, and the other one was okay. But it worked. And that one, by that time they had the Verrazano Bridge. So
that makes life easy.
Yeah. And depending what company I was working in with the guys, I could even get in the carpool or drive them back and forth. So Coney Island was pretty close from Staten Island, so that worked out good. And I was covering there, and I moved up. That was when I moved out of Staten Island. I moved up to Bloomingburg in New York, 72. And the last tour I worked was as a relief captain in Coney Island. That Saturday, I got assigned to the 5th Division covering. So what a lucky break that was, too. Staten Island was over 100 miles to go from Bloomingburg.
Ooh, man.
Yeah. Wow. I was saying that, too. When I was a lieutenant.
You're doing 3 packs a day then, Chief.
Yeah.
Lucky strike.
My little Volkswagen, right? Yeah.
Smoking some of that weed you found in there. I think.
Yeah, you know it. You kept a few.
And we were doing straight tours then, too. So.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was tough. But at any rate, let's see. I got assigned to the 5th Division. I'm covering up there. And Chief Fogarty called me, Jack Fogarty. he was a captain in 28 years before I was there, and then
the
was
connection. I see the
yeah.
connection.
Oh yeah, there was a connection. Well, he was a deputy then in the first, and he'd come over for his visits, and he'd treat the engine like super guys, and he'd pick on the truck. So,
They were professionals. That's why.
yeah, that's right, the professionals. But he said, Jack, I want you to come down to headquarters. He was in the assistant to John O'Hagan in the chief department's office, and they had an office in there they called Pandor, Planning and Operations Research. And he said, why don't you come down here and work here for 6 months and do something. And what we were doing there were rewriting bulletins. They rewrote the bulletin on tower ladders, which I never worked in the tower ladder, so I wasn't going to contribute too much, except we used to call up the tower ladders and ask them, what should we put in this thing? And we did all unit circulars, stuff like that. And then luckily, he said I was there for 6 months. 30 truck was, well, I used to have to take the train from Middletown to headquarters. And I'd leave the house at 5:30 in the morning, get home at 7:30 at night. And my wife had all the kids waiting for dinner. But
so you wrote some of those books, Chief?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I wrote one a little bit later, I'll tell you too. With that, what happened there, the captain of the 30 truck, Joe Pettit, was getting promoted. And
Here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I felt like a stucco.
I went to Chief Fogarty and I said, I've been here 6 months now, Chief. He said, the 30 truck is opening up. And I checked up on it. And he said, nobody put in for it. So Fogarty called the transfer desk, and Matty Hennessy was over there, who also retired from was a fireman in 105 truck also. But anyway, by the way, 105 truck, as you know, that's the West Point of Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And 11 truck, which I didn't know at the time because things were different. Now their name, their 28 and 11, is House of Rules. And the senior guys run the house from the kitchen, and the officers run everything upstairs. And it works like a charm. Isn't that amazing, huh? House of Rules, no less. And everybody had to contend to it. But anyway, he said, okay, I'll let you go. And I got the 30 truck.
Wow.
And when I was there, Bill Feehan was the captain of 59 engine. And we were probies together too, and personal friends. So that worked out good. Except one day Fogarty came up. I don't know what, I think he was coming up just to see him and I. And whatever was going on, he didn't like. So he got the two of us and he said, next time I come back up here for a visit, if things aren't better, you two are gone. So, but what the hell?
So Coob, could you imagine? Let's turn back the clock. Going to 30 truck in 1973.
No.
Could you even comprehend what the hell was going on over
fire,
there in 1973? Could you? I can't even imagine.
Something, yes. The building started getting bigger. They had a lot of MDAs there. There were, I would say, even the Lower East Side had plenty of shafts and tenements and stuff like that. In fact, we had one shaft, the guy was growing chickens on the Lower East Side, but off of his 4th floor window, he put a platform. But in Harlem, I have to say, they had more shafts than anything. Holy, with old Lord tenements, 4-story buildings with shafts. I had 1 5th alarm there. It involved 3 old Lord tenements because the middle old Lord tenement had the fire and went out the windows and then across the shafts and then it burned across the hallways to the other one and then out those shafts. It was like, holy shit. And while I was there, they had 2 of them, 2 5th alarms in those. The guys were good. We ran with 28 and 69 most of the time. And
never heard of him. Who was that?
Harlem Hilton. Harlem Hilton.
Oh,
I said never.
Harlem Hilton. Yes.
Oh, all right. I know.
And 30 was the Harlem Zoo, and I tried to get it changed. Different guys there. We're talking about 26 truck was the fire factory, so we're thinking about this and shit like that. And I said, somebody come up with, oh, we'll be the fire machine. but it didn't work. It didn't work. They still kept it for sure, but it's in the sidewalk out in front of the. When they put in new doors, we put it in his cement-defying machine, but it never worked. But tough engines up there, I'll say that. I mean, you might know Marty Coyne. He was one of my lieutenants. Dick Gilroy, Bob Conrad. I can't give you all these different names of Matty Baker in the engine and Tom Faraday, but you have to say we were second due a lot. So we'd go up, and 69 would have the hallway saying the new law tenement, something like that. You always felt confident going above. They weren't going to back out until we came down. Never got stuck. Never got stuck that way. Got stuck other times where you'd come out the front windows onto the aerial, but the chauffeur would have the aerial up.
Right.
It just worked. You know,
They were going to burn up. They were never backing out of there.
Right. Yeah. I was working there one day when I had the fire with Fitzpatrick and Frisbee died. And we were special called, I guess, after the second, something like that. I got up and we got up on the roof just after the rope broke. And there was nothing to do, of course. But what a tragedy like that, you know. It was, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, there were 7-story new law tenements. Good buildings, but just too much fire and they got stuck. And Fitz, when I used to do a lot of overtime in 26 truck, I worked a lot with Fitzpatrick. He was another tough guy. He was built like a fire plug and tough as nails. And he was the guy going over and it just broke. Never come up with an answer to that. And in fact, Beekman was, I'm trying to think if Beekman was commissioner then or chief of department or something like that, because him and Senior Crothers took the blame for that rope too, and had nothing to do with it really. But in retrospect, just
I mean, what are you going to do at that point if the fire?
A huge tragedy. Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
How was the fire duty up there compared to 28 and 11? Were you doing more or less?
It was less, but there was a lot of it and serious fires with because in the tenements on the Lower East Side, each floor was like a platform. If you could get in there, which the guys did, my professionals.
Uh-oh. Let me tell him.
Hold on a minute. How did that happen, Johns?
I don't know. That's something.
Want to have him go out and come back in?
Yeah. Let me see. Just check his. No, he's not muted. Jack, can you hear us? Your volume's out. Maybe go out and come back real quick. Right. I'd try to warn him ahead of time if we had a problem to go right to his phone. So
he's got his technical advisor there.
Yes, that guy is on point.
Wow, this guy is something, huh?
He was.
Chief still got a nice head of hair. Look at him. Oh,
yeah, he does. He's come back. So anyway,
wow, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, he's good.
Good dude.
He remembers more. I can't even remember anything.
I don't remember what I had for dinner 2 hours ago.
He's like, this guy, Bob Philly Bags.
I went down to headquarters and this guy was there and that guy. And
shit, I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. The
probably not much because that's like every day, right?
It's amazing what they remember. I mean, it's like it just happened yesterday for them. It's crazy.
Oh, that you could tell that's there, and it's in there.
You know what else you can tell? He's very calm dude.
Yeah.
And he must have been.
That's what they said. Let me see what they said about.
Well, listen, right. Chief Daly said he was one of the most influential guys in his career, and Keith Nicolello, who I'm going to bring up now when he comes back on, he said he was one of his favorite guys. Really calm under pressure.
He's back.
There we are.
I'm on the telephone.
All right, we got you.
When you get a chance, just turn it sideways.
Aha.
Good.
Oh, that's much better.
There we go.
Now we can hear you.
No, you can see up your nose, but that's good.
Now you're getting a close-up of me. Yeah.
All right, you look good there, Cecil DeMille.
Yeah, looking good. Remember, I was a professional at one time.
That's right.
Don't forget that one.
You didn't lose too much of your touch. We'll tell you that.
Was Chief, was Keith Nicolello, was he your probie?
Nicolello was a probie there, yes. Just as I was getting promoted, I only worked with him a very, very short time. He come up from 39 engine or someplace he came. Three engine, thank you, Bill. And yes, he was good as gold too, of course. Talk about Mr. Personality with every run he get off and he talked to everybody. And
Yeah.
I used to meet him up here at a Chinese restaurant. He'd come with his daughter and my wife, and we chatted away the whole time. Yeah, what a great personality.
He's up there. He's up there with, like, there's only a few guys who love the job. Like, everybody loves the job.
Yeah.
That guy loves the job, right? He really loves the job. Just can't stop talking about it or doing it. Even now, he retired. He's still running around all over the country doing stuff.
Yeah, I forgot. I saw him down the Jersey Shore.
Of course, I know.
He looked great too. He's in great shape. He's all tanned up. He's got the hair going. He's got the girlfriend. I'm like,
we were talking before too again with Chief Fogarty. When I was a captain of 30, he had me. Well, he didn't have me. He asked me. He detailed me to the Rock to help write firefighting procedures, multiple dwellings. And that was an experience in itself. And we used to go into the Bronx to watch the vacant buildings that burnt down. We'd leave the Rock and go look at them to see what we could put in this bulletin. But the section in there on fireproof multiple dwellings, which are the projects that consider like that, I wrote that whole section myself on every experience that we did on Lower East Side. So
is that right?
And that's where I got it from. I learned it there, you know. And the other guys were on it, Joe Short and trying to think of the assistant chief's name. But anyway, we wrote it there. And I forget how.
It's still going today, Chief.
Yeah,
right?
I guess
people still studying that today. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, there was only one change made when we wrote it, and that came from Joe Cowan, because inadvertently we put in a wrong picture. And Joe knew everything. And one day he finally, I was a chief already by this time. And he said, Jack, you know, there's something wrong with that one picture. And I knew it myself. But I said, yeah. So he sent in, or he changed that. That was the only change he made out of that whole bulletin. And all of it was just practical fire duty and stuff. You know, it's the guys you listened to and taught you this, and you practice it yourself and you did it. Yeah.
You got to be proud of that. That's a pretty good legacy.
That was a good one. Yes, I have to say that. And also another nice thing up there in 30, when I got promoted to chief. Oh, I'm back on the other. Good. Thanks, Bill. Let me turn this off to him.
Nice to have a technical advisor.
Yeah, right. Let's get rid of this guy. All right. Are you there? Uh-oh. We have to go back to the phone.
I heard him.
No.
No, we don't got him.
No, we don't got him.
You still have the phone hooked up.
You know, we're hearing the phone through the computer.
What he was. Yeah, his computer his mic must have, because I don't. On my end, he's mic. Everything is there automatically reducing. I'll check and check this echo. You there, Jack? If not, go back to your cell phone.
Okay.
We'll just keep you on the cell phone. That's all.
Okay. Wow. Let me shut this down. Okay.
There we go. All right. We'll try it.
What do I have to do here then? Turn sideways.
Yeah, you'll go.
Okay. All right.
Wonderful.
Just one thing I wanted to note: the last night I worked as a captain in 30, and the next day I was going to work my first tour in the 55th Battalion. Bill Moore got everybody up in the morning out for fireman's roll call to wish me well. Wow. And I thought that was pretty damn nice. So, yeah. They did all kinds of good things up there. And Mother's Day, they give flowers to all the women on the street. And I think I said too, our numbers guy lived up the street, and his name, oddly enough, was Sonny Chance. So, and one of the firemen hit one time, and we had a tremendous dinner that night. And in a week, all his money was gone. So, but he enjoyed himself. But getting back, there's plenty of fire duty we had up there, and serious fire duty for sure. But lots to learn.
Chief, I wanted to ask you. I could have my years off here. I'm not sure, but when you were in 11 truck, I don't know what year they wrote Ladders 3, but the guy from 26 truck wrote Ladders 3, right?
Yeah, that was John O'Rourke. And here's a good one too. I'll interrupt you for a minute. The original multiple dwelling fires bulletin was written by Mike DeLate, who was the captain then of Ladder 30, and one of his firemen was John. Was it O'Rourke that wrote the Ladders 3?
I think so.
John O'Rourke. He was his fireman there, and then later on, when he became the captain of 26 truck, he wrote Ladders 3.
Right. What year was that about? Was that before you were in 11 truck? Was that?
It was after I was in 11 truck.
So how would you guys operate when you were in 11 truck? Did you have your own way of operating?
Yeah, pretty much. They all the trucks worked pretty much the same. We had 5 guys. Getting back to 28 engine, that sometimes there with my professionals, we had 6 guys, and we were first due. I'd get off the rig, no mask. I didn't have to. I ran up the stairs, and the 6th man, when they finished or almost finished stretching the line, we had two of the big Scots. He'd put his Scot on and bring one up for me. And,
that's service, bro.
Yeah, and
he's a professional.
The one guy, Richie Dove, he made a terrific rescue up there. Because we beat the truck in all the time, you know.
Of course you did.
Just one. I'll tell you.
I just want to say that. I just want to say it.
What professionals do.
That's what professionals do. Nothing like being a lieutenant in a first due, being first due so often. I'm telling you, what a great position that was. I'll tell you. Wow. You're there all the time, right up there.
Because the truck has to close the door. I used to love that. Take it off. Until I was in the truck, I did the same thing. I went to the truck in the same house. Then I had to wait. The engine would take off, and they'd be 2 blocks away before I even got there.
Another thing we had there too. Herbie Iser was the dispatcher, a real super guy, and he had a brother, George Iser, was a chief in the 3-5 later. But anyway, all of a sudden one day, the engine always be going out, engine only, rubbish or crap, whatever like that. One day, it turned out to be a 5-7 signal. The truck had to go. And I called up the dispatcher. I said, is that something new we're going to have? I said, I didn't hear anything about this. I don't know who started it, but I don't know how extensive it was, but every run the engine had, no matter what it was, the truck went with us. Whether they liked it or not, they were assigned to go. Yeah, and twice we got them. We got in first, of course, and I'd give it 1075, and the truck would say, "Ah, shit." But just so many different things down there too, and like Herbie Iser too. We were going up to C and 5th one time, or C and 7th. And he called me on the radio and he said, 28, take a look into 6th Street when you go by and see if you see anything. Sure enough, the fire was in 6th Street. How the hell Herbie knew it, I have no idea. But it was out the windows on 6th Street. So, but of course,
dispatch worth his weight in gold, man.
Oh, and we had Bill Trainer in the Bronx, was just as good. These guys knew where everybody was at any time. I remember when I was a chief there, 44 with Mike Feiner and his crew, they always were out drilling, and I went to visit them. Just during the week, they would be doing something, and they had all the crap laid out on Shakespeare Avenue, and they got a call for relocation. So I just called the dispatcher with radio off or speaker or
mixer
off, and said, "Can you do something here because 44 has all their stuff in the street?" He said, just say, no problem. That was the end of it. They canceled it and they got another guy to relocate. That's all. So, yes. I'm trying to think of so many different things happen in these places. It's just remarkable that, and everything just worked. That's all. It just worked. The guys loved to, in the engine too, the guy with the nozzle would have his helmet on and his coat on top of the nozzle because we were on the back step still then. And the guy coming in for the night tour, he'd just take the guy's helmet and coat off, put it on the side, and put his own on there, and we get a run. The guy who originally was there said, "What the hell happened to my stuff?" Maybe that's why we all have those dreams where we can't find our gear.
Wow.
Hey.
Bill here has had them.
I told you, I have them all the time.
Wow. That's
Where
so
the hell
weird
is my
to bring that
helmet?
shit up.
Where the
Yeah.
hell's my helmet?
Where's my helmet?
These boots don't fit.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's see.
So you got to work in 3 really busy places in 3 different boroughs.
Yes. Yep. Three times in Manhattan, 65, 28, and 11, and then 30. And then when I went to the Bronx, I used to always kid the guys too, these professionals. But later on, we were out of there. I said, I got my baccalaureate in 11 and Rescue 2 and 65 engine. I got my master's in 28 engine, and I got my PhD as a chief in the Bronx. The Bronx with those H buildings, that really opened stuff up, and I listened to everybody there. I listened to any fireman who was busy there and stuff to tell me what the hell goes on with these H buildings here with the vertical voids and stuff. And I was up there one time. I was an all hands chief, and the deputy said, "Go up and find out where 42 engine is." So I had my mask. I always had the mask, and I'd go up the stairs, and 42 engine line went up, and I followed. It was smoky, but you could, with the line, I just followed it through, and I was saying, where the hell could these guys be? I don't know why they weren't answering on the handy-talkie, but they weren't. But anyway, I'm crawling along. I go into a closet, and I keep going, and I'm coming out of another closet in the next apartment, and that's where they were. It was 2 neighbors or relatives lived in
Broke through, and they broke through the apartment.
Yeah, they just broke through there. I said, holy shit! And then you say to yourself, how did these guys find their way through these places?
42 engine. That's a good engine, man.
Oh yeah, good house. That's where 44 went to when they were remodeling Morris Avenue. And I used to always say, I love Morris Avenue. I'll tell you how I got there. I was covering there, and I went to a 3rd alarm somewhere further north. And our good guy, Matty Farrell, was a citywide chief, and he's there. And I come in, and I knew him when I was in the 4th Battalion. He came there covering, and he just stood out, another guy that you would just love, And he's there, and I'm taken up, I guess. And he says to me, "Hey, Jack, what are you doing up here in the Bronx?" And don't ask me why he remembered my name. I have no freaking idea, except the memory that guy has. And I did see him on Getting Salty. But anyway, I said, "No, I'm up in the Bronx." I said, "I'm waiting around. I'm trying to get to the 17th Battalion." I said, "But there's going to be 2 openings, and I'm not senior." He said, "Jack, we decide who goes where." A month later on the department order.
The fixer came in, Coop.
That was with McGrath. The scene, luckily, the 2 battalion chiefs on the deputies list weren't too far apart. So Tom McGrath came maybe 2 months later. But also when I was in 92 and 44, I loved it there too. I used to always say Morris Avenue was my 2nd street in the Bronx. They were, even though 2nd Street had no chief, but just the attitudes and things like that. And 44 truck was the first towel ladder in the Bronx, which I never knew.
Yep. You work with George Daly up there?
Oh yeah, talk about a funny guy, George Daly.
Yeah.
He told me one time he said, "Well, driving up the concourse," he said, "and the people are like daring you to cross the street and all." He said, "Well, all you do," I don't know what he was telling me for because I wasn't driving. He said, "I just don't look at them. I just keep going." He said, "They stop." I said, holy shit.
Or they're underneath the car, either one.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about a funny guy. Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm related to him through marriage, actually.
Oh, no kidding. And his son was in.
His son went there, too. Yep.
Yes.
In Queens now. Oh, he's in Queens now. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a lieutenant now, but he spent most of his career as a fireman up in 44.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They had everybody. It was just the Chiefs were good. I wanted to tell you too, when we finally got the women in the job in '82, I guess it was, we got Carol Boykins, and she came, and I'm saying, Jack Schneider, he was the battalion commander. He had 6 good daughters. I have 5 daughters. Divine had 2 daughters. So I guess we figured, I guess we're not going to have too much trouble here for that. And everything got resolved out. And the biggest lieutenant in the engine, Tom Latka, he took her under his arm. And everything eventually just worked out beautifully. So
it seems to happen wherever you go. I don't know how this happens, Ruth. Everything just happens to work out. It flows, you know?
Yeah. What did he say before? You know, that's what happens if, you know,
you respect the men, the men respect you. Give and take.
Exactly. What was good there, too, of course, the department did nothing about the bathrooms yet at the time. Were you there, Bill, when she came?
Yeah, she was still there when I came.
Yeah. Did she get assigned there when you were there?
No, she was already there.
Okay. When we came, the city, of course, did nothing about the bathrooms and stuff like that. So the chiefs decided, well, we'll just let her use our bathroom because we had a separate office and stuff like that. But in the meantime, the firemen resolved it. That's all. And they put locks on the doors and stuff like that. So eventually it worked out very nicely. And Tom Latka took her right under his wing and dragged her along with the hose line, and she performed. So
that's surprising, Chief, because that's really not a sought after firehouse, you know.
Oh, yes.
Not in the least.
Yeah. I can't imagine that happening over there, you know, like
yeah, really. They
guys taking care of business.
So many. Oh, we have a dog there, Rocky. Sal Lasciuto brought the dog in, and he was a wonderful dog. He never did anything in our parking lot. He'd always go elsewhere to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. And me and the aide were driving on College Avenue one day, and I look out the window, and on the sidewalk is our dog, Rocky. So I opened up the window, I call him. He come right over to the car. I got out, opened up the back door. He jumped in, sat on top of my gear. We go back to the firehouse, and backing in, there's the real Rocky in the firehouse.
An imposter.
It had to be his son.
It looked just like him, huh?
Yeah.
He's got a couple of kids, some that I know about. Yeah. Forget about.
There were so many great guys there. I'm telling you, it's hard to mention the different names and all like that.
I told you we were talking in the pre-show. I came on with Brian Fox. He went to 40. We went to 92 first, I think, and then he ended up going to the truck.
Yes. Yep. He was good. I'm going to say something about that later. One time I was out of there and I was coming to visit, and in the morning, and they had a job, and he made a rescue, and I'm trying to. It doesn't matter. It was a good
Townsend Avenue.
Yeah. What street?
Townsend
Avenue. Okay. And later on, somebody said something to him about being in there and stuff, and Brian said, it was all right. He said, if I got stuck, I knew somebody was coming after me. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the things I have to say later. No matter what, you knew somebody would be coming. That's for sure. There's and we all felt that way. There was no trouble at all. Yeah. It was just so many good things there. And learning about the size of these H buildings and all, there was something there too. I had my own idea of this later on after I learned a lot of stuff, and of course you learned this by listening to the senior chiefs. And if we had a fire in an H building and it was the 3rd floor or below of say a 5 or 6 story H building, before I got out of the car I'd given all hands, extra engine and truck. If it was on the 4th, coming out the windows on the 4th floor to the top, I'd give a second alarm before I got out of the car. And the stretches that like 92 and 68 did up there, like nothing, 12 lane stretches, and then find the right stairway in the building to make sure you were going to be in the right wing at the time, or hope the truck found it. So, but the guys just did this. And I tell you honest truth, never saw a short stretch. I saw plenty of holes, but there were no short stretches, and they were long. And that was when you found the hydrant, of course. And then you'd have to find out when you got into the lobby of some of these places, what wing am I going up to? With all the hills in the Bronx too, we'd be coming down like say 167th Street, looking at Shakespeare, which is a hill, and if you saw the fire coming out of the windows there, right away we would designate the fire floor would be whatever number it was from the roof down, because in the front it'd be completely different look.
Right.
Yeah.
In the back, right.
Backyard, it might be 8 stories.
8 stories. You might have 5 in the front or
Yes.
whatever.
And I learned there too, these things that were like 8 stories. The top 6 stories were non-fireproof, but the 6th floor, I mean, say the the first, second, and third floor on the hill, they were fireproof ceilings because you can only go so many feet without it being fireproof. So that was interesting and paid off many times too, because from the front of the building, you'd think you had a 5-story H building. And the education there, you had to listen to everybody. The officer would tell me stuff, Chief, did you see this? Did you see that? And you'd have to listen because honestly, I didn't know. I never saw these buildings before in my life.
I was going to say, you've seen every type of borough and building before.
Well, yeah. Chief, did you did BI, right? How's your feelings on BI? Well, you can get that information from BI too, or maybe even subtitles. What's your take on subtitles?
Well, that was not one of my. I think the fire part of it was my highlight. The fire prevention was. I could check the books, and luckily Tom McGrath was the BI chief. So
exactly, we need the one guy. Fish was my BI guy.
That was just
all right, Chief. So now I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
You become a chief. If hopefully your dad was still around, you look at him and you say, "Hey, Pop. You got any information for me now that I'm a chief and you were a chief? Did he give you anything?"
Who was that?
Your dad.
My father? No. Tell you the truth. Well, oh wait.
No, he wanted to figure out. Made it. That's enough, right?
That's it. Hey, look, Ma, I made it.
I have to take that back. He was in Florida by the time I became a chief. So
all right. We'll let him slide.
Yeah, that's
fun.
But one time I failed the deputy's test, and I told him I failed it, and he said, "Well, did you study?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, what do you expect?"
Well, there you go.
that was easy.
Cool.
Being a battalion chief was, to me, well, first 2 engine officer. That you couldn't beat that. But being a battalion chief was superb. Yeah, I have to say I loved that job.
I was going to say, what was your favorite? Looking back at your career, what was your favorite spot? Your sweet spot? Like, and obviously there's a lot of sweet spots, but where was the one that if you had to go back, where would you go back?
Well, if I was young enough, I'd go back to 28 engine. If I was older, I'd be a chief in the Bronx.
Shit.
But I have to say both of those. Fireman, I love being too. I like being a captain. But lieutenant of a first 2 engine and a battalion chief in the Bronx, they hard to beat for sure. And luckily too, when I was a chief in the Bronx, Rescue 3 was still in Manhattan, and there were a lot of, when they come into the Bronx for all the fires and stuff like that, there was always competition and jealousies with certain ladder companies and stuff like that. So it worked out good because the rescue come over, and when they come over, I would like enhance their position. They were there to help me, and I knew it, being in a rescue company. But as you know, most other superior officers were never in rescue companies to even know them. They just knew they could do fantastic jobs for them, but I knew damn well they'd be there to help me and bail me out if I needed it, for sure.
Right.
They were good. If we had one guy in Rescue 3, Ray Phillips, he's another gonzo.
I remember Ray. Ray.
When things were under control, they'd come out and get ready to take up. And he'd come up behind me, take my helmet off, put it on his hat, put his hat on, helmet on my head, and then he'd start barking orders to everybody. I said, okay, you could take up rescue.
He had a shtick.
Yeah, the things were just so good, you know. It's you learn so much stuff by listening to these guys that, which we all should, of course. And another thing I learned in the Bronx, Chief, I used to be ABC many times when I was a captain in the 30s and stuff like that. But being the real chief, I learned, I'm watching Jack Schneider and Don Devine, and other senior guys. I used to see Joe DiBernardo all the time, and Phil Burns and stuff like that. And I realized I'm not stretching down the hallway anymore, and I'm not forcing doors or pulling ceilings and stuff like that. My job was the firemen. The firemen would make the rescues, they put out the fires, and I was just there. But my job really was there watching them. When they needed help, I'd get help. When they were ready to take up, I'd let them take up. And it was just, I finally realized chief is a different job. My guys all went home. They all went home. And how lucky was I, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was going to say, Chief, Jimmy Daly, Chief
Yes.
Daly mentioned something I saw. I know he was up there too with you.
Yes.
He was.
I never knew how smart he was till he passed the lieutenant's list. I didn't even know he studied, and he probably didn't. He just had that memory. Yeah.
Some guys are wicked smart.
Not like everybody says.
Just good. Another thing I learned too, I'll say it later too. Every tour I worked, I looked who was working in all the units that I would respond to on the first alarm, and I'd know what officer was working. And if it was a covering officer, I'd find out who the senior man was in that company. And it just made things so much simpler. That's all. And the officers were good. The firemen were good. All that mutual respect. Oh, I was there 16 years. One morning, just once, I had to go in the kitchen and said, "Hey guys, how about if I be the chief today?" And they were probably having a fit over no fires or something like that, you know, so they get a little crotchety. But it worked out like a charm for sure. Yeah. But
sometimes you got to tighten the bolts, Chief.
Oh, yeah. Man, I heard that somewhere recently.
To do what?
You keep saying later. Is that in your thing that you want to read to us? Is that what you're referring to?
Are you ready for that now?
I'd like to hear it. You're piquing my interest with all these laters. So
okay, yeah, that's true.
We're gonna give you a full screen, right, Guns?
Yeah, you ready? Are we doing the? Is it that time?
I don't think this is the tip. This is something else that he wants to read, right?
Okay. All right. You wanted the tips that you wanted too.
What do you want to do first?
I'll do the tips first because it's very quickly.
All right, I'll tell you what. Don't do nothing yet. We got to do a little intro here.
Here we go. We got to give you the introduction.
All right, it's time for the old school tip of the day. Wait one more second. All right, there, Chief.
And there you are, Chief.
Okay, for the engine companies and guys, of course, everything was always to listen to the senior guys and the officers because they've been through it all, and all you have to do is listen to them and follow it. But with the engine, I said, when you're crawling down the hall, get out of the hallway because that's the flue. That if this thing blows back on you, you're going to be right in the flue. And one of the other things was for the truck company forcing the door, always look behind the door because if a victim was there trying to get out their front door and collapsed, he'd be behind the door that you're forcing open. So always check on that. And I learned that with 2 truck one time when I was a Probian 65 engine. I was up, I must have been detailed, and the guy forced the door and went right behind it and found somebody. It was like, ooh, I guess so. We'll listen to this guy for sure. Okay, the other thing, it might be a little hokey to some people, but I always have this thing about the fire department family. And I always figure that the chief is the grandfather in the family. He's generally older, experienced, worked in many areas and firehouses. And it's hard to imagine, well, I'm looking here like the grandfather being like Mike McParland or Tommy Jensen or Richie McVeigh, guys like that. Then the captain would be the father of the house. Just like at home, he sets up the rules and standards, separates personalities. This is his firehouse, particularly if he's the engine captain, and proud of it. And guys like that would be like Dennis McCool and E.J. Tierney, Dick Collins, and Steve Louisi, stuff like that. Lieutenants were your uncles, especially the senior lieutenants. And we had one, Dick Gilroy, for sure, in 30 truck. He was a fireman in 14 truck and then a lieutenant in 30 for over 30 years. Anyway, senior lieutenant is the perfect go-between the captain and the members. And like Bob Conrad would do that, and Jimmy McCluskey and Marty Coyne, another sweetheart of a guy. Then the senior firefighters, they were the big brother. The senior firefighter respected for his status and influence. He runs everything outside of the office. And you'd have guys like Tom Flaherty, Pete Carroll, Matty Baker, stuff like that. Then the regular firemen, they were all the brothers in the family. And they were looking out for all and each other. The probie, he was the baby brother. He was protected, helped, taught by all, and watched out for, and was taught the traditions and history of that firehouse. All the other firemen, they were like from other units. They were like cousins, and whoever you met covering and stuff like that, or interchange and overtime, they were cousins. And everything works because of mutual respect. And this is the important part. Any firefighter, whether you're detailed on overtime or a covering officer, they're guests in our firehouse, which is our home. And they are relying on us all the time. After they leave, they carry and spread our reputation. Here was a good one, too, in the Bronx, where the guy promoted from Rescue 2 was a covering lieutenant. And when he covered in 92 and 44, he made up the thing that they were the crown jewel of the Bronx. That was a good reputation to spread, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing would be, our saving factor is whenever we perform jobs or you get jammed up or trapped, we always know someone or more are coming to get us out. And wherever you go, you're always asked where you worked. And when you say, in this case, I'm going to say 59 or 30 or 28 and 11, 92 and 44, the atmosphere just gets better. And when I got promoted to BC, I went to 5-5 Battalion. And of course, the guys asked you where you worked. And I said, well, I just got promoted from 30 truck. That was the end of it. That was all. Nobody asked anything. I was the chief. It just works. And, but you know that yourself. We all do. And anyway, one last thing is a quote from Oscar Wilde. And it's, experience is the hardest kind of teacher. It gives you the test first and the lesson afterward. Okay. Now, he wrote that in the 1800s, and my sister told me that one, but I had to write it down. That was some quote. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say.
That was amazing,
that was
Chief.
great.
Wow. That could be up there, Kobe. That's in the top 5, I think.
That last quote, what was it? Could you say that last quote again?
It's a good one, isn't it? Okay.
Hey, yeah, it is.
Experience is the hardest kind of teacher. It gives you the test first and lessons and the lesson afterward. So you get the job first, and then you get
You have to learn from it after.
That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's great,
Yeah.
Chief.
I guess just like the fire department, there's so many superior guys. I was trying to mention names because they make such an impression on you, and like all you have to do is listen, and then there they are. You know, it's.
Now, did you make up the whole thing with the family? Did you make that up?
That one I made up myself. Yeah.
That was great too.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'll send it to one of you. Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing too, also, no matter where you work, whether it was in Brownsville or 103 truck from first section, everything was in the long run mutual respect. It works. That's all. It just works. That's who we are. And also, get guys in the company, they get sick and tired of going out on gas leaks and water leaks and stuff like that. and I'd say, because they'd be grumping about it. I said, every time we go out, you're really helping somebody, and they're calling us because they know we're going to come to help them. And so no matter what you want to say about it, we are the only help they get, and we get it every time, and we give it to anybody.
Right.
I don't care who they are. We never ask. Yeah.
Nope.
And I'll let it go. My last thing is my new nickname now is, and I should have said this years ago, my nickname is Lucky Jack. So there we go.
Lucky Jack.
Lucky Jack. So
Lucky
and there I
Jack.
am.
You a gambler?
And you got 25 more years to go, Chief.
At least. God
bless.
I always liked the back step. That was a good one. Yeah. And the carrying on and stuff like that. But
the carrying on.
Everybody's inside now with the air conditioning or the heat.
Right.
Yeah. Imagine those old days, like those big responses in Queens. They go for miles.
On the back step. I can't imagine.
Back step, and I always got a kick out of the ladder companies, particularly with the windshield wiper on the inside and the outside, because there was no cover. So,
hey, Chief, when did you stop smoking?
I stopped smoking when I was a captain of 30 truck. I got hypnotized, and Jimmy Harrison in the engine and I went for hypnotism down by 2 truck, and the gal who gave it was a group of us, and she said, if you smoke again, you're really going to be in strong. And for some reason, I gave mine up. Jimmy didn't. He smoked again, but then he went back a year later and gave it up after that.
Wow.
He has sons on the job, too. Yeah.
What'd you smoke? Lucky Strikes? What were you smoking?
Camel.
No, I smoked Alpine, mentholated cigarette.
Oh, menthol.
Man, it had a filter, though. It had a filter.
It had a filter.
When my brother and I were kids, we had to go on a bus, and it was a block away from the house, and we get down there, and we pick up all the butts because people dropped them. Some of them were big, when they got on the bus. And we'd buy the papers and we'd roll our own cigarettes.
Oh, the memories as a kid.
Oh, the memories, yeah.
Chief, I'll sign the paper for 89.
Hell yeah.
I'll sign the contract.
I'm happy I gave it up for sure, but I have to say it was a good social thing too. I did enjoy smoking for sure,
Yeah.
but thank goodness we gave it up.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
It's just like that nervous thing you just have to do. You get an oral fixation. It's okay.
Well, my stepdad smoked 5 packs a day.
Oh.
He would just light one of them. All he had to do was light one in the morning, and that was it for the rest of the day. Then he would go from one to the other.
I never heard that many in my life. So
5 packs
he was
a
chain
day.
smoker.
Yep. And then one day he just threw him out the window of his car, and he never smoked again.
Really?
He quit for 30 years. Yeah, he died when he was 90, 91, 92.
Oh, I'm glad I gave it up. So you're going to guarantee I'm going to get to be 92?
You're going to get to be 100.
You got another.
We're going to have your 100th anniversary. We're going to have it on this show. Yeah, 100th birthday.
Well, he's going to make the boat trip now.
By then he'll forget a few names, though. He has to forget something, for God's sakes. This guy. He hasn't.
I don't know. There was one guy he couldn't remember, and then he remembered like 3 sentences later. So I'm going to give him 100% on that.
The best thing for all of us was, again, I said it before, that lucky Saturday when we took the entrance test. Wow.
Yep.
How lucky we became.
What a great life, huh, Chief?
I would easily say most of my friends are firemen, for sure. I go to lunches, I go to breakfasts, meetings, and it keeps me going for sure. Keeps me going.
Now you get to come on our annual boat ride. We have all our past guests come on a boat ride in August.
I didn't know you had that.
We have a friend who owns the John J. Harvey, and we go around in second week of August. All the years past guests, we take a cruise around the Statue of Liberty, drink our faces off, and eat some good food. And,
you're right. I did know about the Harvey. Yes, very true.
Well, now you'll be on that boat cruise this year in August. So
I'll pick you up, Chief. I'll pick you up.
Okay, I hope they don't have a gold room, because when I was at Proby, I spent a week in Marine 7 shining the brass in their gold.
No, there's no shining brass here, buddy.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I have seen pictures of that. I forgot.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
I hope I don't get seasick.
No, I don't get
no.
VP.
Put the little patch behind. Get that little patch for behind your
Yeah.
ear. You'll be all right. And it's not that bad out
Great show, great career, Chief.
Yeah.
Great insight, great
Thank
memory, fantastic career. I really appreciate you coming on, Chief.
there.
You
Yeah.
really did have a wonderful life, Chief.
I have two guys, Bill Haney and Ron Capel, wanted me to come on here a long time ago. I said, I can't go on. I'd be too embarrassed and stuff like that. TPS, all of a sudden, here I'm telling them, yeah, I'm going to go, and Bill made the phone call. So
now you got to get another guy. We need another guy from your area. You go to these breakfasts, get us some more guests.
I'm going to the breakfast.
You going?
It's right by me. Yeah.
okay, we'll look for you there and see. Yes.
Take phone numbers, Roof. Get the phone numbers.
Oh, I'll get them.
You bring a contract. We got to get a contract. Get him to sign a contract.
Bill said he'll make sure he texts them to you for sure.
All right.
Awesome.
Maybe
We'll get
Bill.
a
What
couple
about
good
Bill?
candidates.
Bill's coming on.
Bill's coming on.
Okay.
All right.
When's
You got any shout outs, Roof?
I'm done.
Oh, actually, hold on one second. I did have a shout out for.
Okay. Yes. Of
Hold
course.
on. Stay right there, Chief. Don't go nowhere.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll give you while I'm waiting. I'll
Philly
give you one
Pierulli.
story. You guys gave me
Go ahead.
an ovation when I come on. I
Yep.
come out of we had a second alarm on 167th Street, and it's over, and I come out of the building, and I get a standing ovation, and my driver's there, and I said, George, what the hell is going on here? He said, Chief, you come out of the building, we can all go home now. Thanks.
Back it up.
Thanks a lot.
Good thing you reminded me, Coop. So Philly Pierulli, a guy we worked with, he was in Squad 270. He said, Louis, my volley department is doing a fundraiser on October 19th. It's for a firefighter captain from South Camden, North Carolina, who was in a coma sustained when he was struck by a ball during a fire department softball game. Could you imagine?
No.
His dad is an ex-chief here in Massapequa. His uncle is in ladder 142, who passed away from 9/11 cancer. I was wondering if you can mention it on the show. So I guess
How do they get a hold
October
of it?
19th. Yeah, I'm gonna get the information on that, and
We'll put it in
maybe I'll post it up. Yeah, we'll post it up on the fan
post
page
it
or
up.
something.
All right. Excellent. All right, Chief.
Thank you very much. It was an honor.
Well,
Yes.
thank you for that, and thanks for putting up with the stories.
Oh,
Putting
stories.
up.
Love the stories.
The guys, they love them. They love them.
Good.
They eat them up.
My face
Eat 'em
hurts.
up.
My face
Yeah.
hurts.
A little bit of wisdom is the best way to learn from an old
Yep.
fireman is to work with an old fireman.
I'm
So,
going to give you one more last story. I just
Go ahead.
Like I
Send it.
told you early, if I saw fire coming out the windows, I'd give a second right away and
Second.
stuff like that. And
Two
by the
bagger.
way, no, if it was out, nobody mind coming. And I would look around, and if I saw companies there with Proby helmets on them, I'd get the lieutenant. I said, "Do you want to stay? You guys, I'll let you guys go in and do the overhauling and washing down and stuff." And every lieutenant took me up on it. And in the meantime, I could let the regular guys go home too. So
Yeah, right.
but
Yeah, perfect.
it was a perfect thing for the Probies. It just like get a chance.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
perfect.
Anyway,
That's why they loved you, Chief. That's
Yeah,
why
there
they
you
loved
go.
you.
There you go.
Thank you.
You got Chief Hoff. Remember Chief Hoff? He was the chief of Chicago Fire Department. He's watching. He said, "Great show. Tell Lou appreciate these shows." So
Yes, I'm sure they do for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
all right,
that's
guys.
good.
What do we
Okay.
have? Monday or Thursday, Ruff? What do we have? this week?
Thursday's leave.
Chief Lieb.
Oh, it's this book right here. It is 30 Fires You Must Know. So we're going to bring a couple of guys on at a time to tell these stories. 30 Fires You Must Know. Thursday. All right, guys. Good luck down there.
Yeah.
Stay dry.
Yes, for sure. Florida.
Yeah, we're good now, man. We're good now.
Parts of it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Two
All
of
the
the family
people down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
that's
had this was the worst tornado breakout for us ever, I think, in history.
I
they did do
couldn't
something.
believe the number of tornadoes.
Yeah.
This was one of the. This was definitely the worst. At least that I've
It
seen.
usually doesn't happen like that before.
Yeah, you know what
No.
doesn't usually happen too? Well, my wife says to me, there could be tornadoes in a hurricane. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no tornadoes in a hurricane.
Yeah,
I'm
I
watching
said
the
the
news
same
this
thing.
morning. There's tornadoes over the place. I'm like,
Fuck
don't I
everywhere.
feel like an asshole now, right? Now I got to go apologize to my wife.
What am I, an asshole?
What am I?
All right, boys.
All right, guys.
Tell Bob thanks for the assistance over there. Bill, rather.
Bill.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Whoa.
What the
Don't
hell?
hang up. Stay
All
right
right,
put.
don't hang up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I say. Stay low and go.
All right, everybody. We'll see you at the big one. Thank you again, Chief.
Sorry,
You're
guys.
welcome.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
All of our brothers out there operating and sisters too. Sorry. Be safe out there. Good night, everyone.
Disclaimer.